right. Boop.
We're live.
We are live. Okay. And for some reason, it always takes forever for the other side to be like, hey, you're live. So far, it looks like I'm not, even though I am. Then I have to mute it. Give it a second.
It says I have to ask the host permission to record.
What? Let me see. Why is it doing this? Oh no. Okay, whatever. I'll just do that. Wait, no, but it's fine. Okay. All right, so we are live on YouTube apparently, and then I will record on this computer. Yes. How come it won't
on the
let
computer?
It says because you're the host.
Okay, cool. Well, I mean, I guess cool. All right. And it's another, it's the 100th episode. It's the 100th episode.
What?
Yay.
Really loud.
And to answer the
100th episode of RU.coms. We did it. We made it. Woo. All right.
Does the potato have a birthday?
Yeah.
No,
For real?
because I always am. I am.
Her birthday's all year.
It's the unbirthday.
It's like everybody else gets one day a year. Her birthday is all year besides one day.
I always am. I've
Christmas
never, I will never die. I will never be born. I just am.
Wow. That's some power.
I mean,
that coming from Thanos.
She's her own Infinity Stone.
Right. Yeah, this episode is actually pretty special because
A very special episode of RU.com.
of RU.coms. We have guests here today in the studio, or not in the studio, you guys. Storytime Pitches.
Yeah.
Hey.
Say your names.
I am Josh, and I'm one of the hosts of Storytime Pitches.
And I am Kurt, and I am another host of Storytime Pitches.
So the
How many hosts do we
Storytime,
have?
huh?
Do we get both of them? We got both hosts?
We got
Both
both.
hosts.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we really, all expenses or
Yeah,
whatever.
we went all out.
Spared no expense.
Now we're happy to be here.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, the story pitches are joining the story bitches. That's me and Sheepdog.
Oh, behave.
Which is funny because the Storytime Pitches was a play on that. I was just like, well, maybe we play it smarter, but
No, I love it, honestly.
actually the tricky part was, do we spell it Storytime one word or do we spread them out like story space time? But apparently either way is the proper way to say it. So
Yeah, honestly, like people say story time, they don't say story time.
yeah.
So,
What looks better on your merch? That's the question.
Yeah, and that's what we went with.
yeah,
Good.
SP,
Why?
right? When
Yeah.
people
T-shirts
start
are
getting
coming
that
soon.
tattooed.
T-shirts are coming.
Right, SP. Yeah, no, I think it's good. Yeah, they're joining us today.
They are?
In holy magic. No.
We're sure about that.
Oh, watch out.
Because we as a community, except not you guys that are listening because you didn't want to be here. But
But you're forced.
yeah, we will be telling you guys a little TV show that we have in the making if we have enough money to make it.
Oh,
So
okay. A lot of pressure.
Investors
write
are
it
always
out.
welcome.
yeah, I mean, if another executive out there decides, hey, this sounds great, from the makers of I'm totally blanking on one of your movies.
We could do Awakening.
There we go.
Awakening.
Awakening. From the makers of Awakening and Uncle Slasher comes the working title. I don't know what the working title would be for this one, but it's a TV show. Let me stutter for a second. It's a TV show about, I'm not sure if you guys have heard about this. Ben Franklin's home. This has happened a couple of times. So every few years, people realize this, and it gets blown up on Twitter, it gets blown up on any whatever social medias. A bunch of bones were found in Ben Franklin's basement.
That's right.
So let's just throw out the actual logical reasoning and make a little story, whatever it's called.
Do we want to discuss the logical reasoning behind it?
No, we don't.
It's interesting.
We don't care. We don't care. We don't know we don't pretend that logical reasoning does not exist.
Okay.
Ben Franklin. Is he a killer?
Serial killer.
Yeah. I mean, it was 6 children. There was 10 bodies. 6 of them were children. A bunch of turtles and other animals. What's going on here? Let's find out. Let's let people know what the answer is to this mystery.
So we're fictioning something like
historical
nonfiction.
Yeah.
That
historical.
In the same vein of, I mean, that one was actually real though. Abraham Lincoln and the zombies? Was it zombies or vampires?
It was
I don't even remember.
Oh, vampires.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so that one actually was real. So
well, do we want to go in that direction, or do we want to go with serial killer? Because there's a bunch of ways we can go with this, right?
I mean, like, if I had to like throw in an idea just immediately, I'm thinking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Ben Franklin. Like, maybe he messed up somewhere along the lines. He was trying to make them, but
shocking.
I mean,
so he was doing experiments on these people and they died. Interesting. Maybe he was making that. Yeah.
Like
so what
like a turtle hybrid?
Okay.
Oh, he was trying to make a human centipede.
No, he was making
a turtipede.
Turtle soldiers. He was making turtle soldiers to defeat
the British.
Interesting. Because they needed to swim across.
Wow, that's quite a tea party.
Okay. Well, I guess before we get any further, we should definitely tell people that this is going to be a 2-part episode. So like,
sorry. Yes.
No, you're good. Yeah. So
help me out with whatever I'm forgetting. I'm
you're
really
good.
bad at remembering.
So we're basically saying like we're gonna pitch you guys a brief idea in like the first episode of this series right now, and then you'll have to like go to the Storytime Pitches to find out like what resolves it and where it goes from there. So, but I think this idea's definitely got some potential so far. Like my question would be, what is the setting? Like, does it take place like nowadays when people found out these bones, or is it like a time period piece like back in the day of what actually happened, or is it kind of both, like with like flashes and stuff?
So I would think, I would think it would start out. So it happened. They found it in 1998. So it could take place in the 90s.
So 2 periods.
Some 2 periods are the worst.
Wow,
so
that's a heavy blow.
I would say it takes place in 98, and their setting is someone is whatever they were doing, redoing their home, and oh my god, the red. No, turn off that red filter, please. You
went from Thanos to Maul.
So they're remodeling their home, and they find it was a thigh bone that they found first. But I think it would be better if they're remodeling their home and their dog is just running around. Dog comes running down, grabs the thigh bone, runs upstairs with it. How big is that thigh bone? Would that be something a dog would pick up?
They did it in the Burbs.
Well, a thigh bone would technically be a femur, so
yeah,
like a foot long or so.
It'd have to be a big dog.
Okay,
yeah, there you go.
We ain't talking no Chihuahua here.
Big dogs in
that would be hilarious
London.
If it was. Now, are these human bones?
They're like, what you got there, Sparky? Sparky's a dog name, right?
These are human bones, right?
Right.
Okay.
So, or it could easily have found. No, I want to stick with a human bone. Definitely, find a human bone.
You gotta start shocking in the pilot. You gotta get their attention.
What's that?
You gotta get their attention in a pilot. So yeah, it should be the human bones right off the bat.
It's got blood on it. No, it doesn't have blood on it.
What if those bones had like markings written onto them? So like maybe these are part of like, I mean, when you think about the founding fathers, obviously the Illuminati, all that comes up. So like, what if these bones actually have like markings and ritual, symbols on them?
Like so Mason.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. I have a pretty interesting idea. Okay. So what if, so Thomas Jefferson, right? So what if he is from another dimension and he came here because everything went wrong in their dimension? So the founding fathers literally transferred dimensions, came to our dimensions, and killed themselves in our dimension and took their place. But we're only following Thomas Jefferson's story for now until we get to like the rest of it, and you realize that it's this whole conspiracy, like you said, like the Illuminati and things like that, all stemmed from this idea that these people came from another dimension that went wrong, so they know how to make this one right, and they have the power to do it. But so he like killed himself and buried himself. And then now we're finding these bones, but of course it's so old and stuff that we can't like identify the DNA on it or anything to figure out that this is him. So it's like the perfect cover up at that point.
Yeah.
And the twist is that the dimension where it all got screwed up is our dimension, where they killed all the Indians and had slavery for hundreds of years.
Yeah. That would be like the M. Night Shyamalan thing that we do in the last episode and piss everybody off.
I'm all confused.
Well, like we're living in the bad timeline. We just don't realize it.
Yeah, the good timeline is the series. It's a different version of America where we weren't genocidal maniacs.
Yeah, it's like a perfect utopia.
So why would they want to live in this one?
Where they didn't kill all the Indians, and they don't want to live in this one. That's the twist.
Or they do want to like, or they want to change this one. Like maybe somehow they found out that this timeline is wrong and they want to come back and like change this timeline. Or
oh crap, it's called Avenging Fathers, and it's our forefathers coming to our time now.
Okay.
And they're the bad guys.
I think for that you would have to show like it would have to take place maybe at some point. They're now I don't even know. I'm all like confused about time travel, so now I'm just like I hate time travel.
It wouldn't be time travel. It'd be just dimension, like hopping dimension.
Well, I hate it.
So what if okay, so they come in our dimension, right? Let's say in their dimension everything was a perfect utopia, but then in like the future, like 2021 or whenever the show comes out, like something terrible happened, like a cataclysmic event that like ended like like most of humanity, like over 50% of humanity or something. And by coming to a different dimension and trying to do it right by doing the slavery and everything like that, like was a way to change our timeline, because in theirs everything was peaceful until it wasn't, and ours is the opposite. Like it was terrible in the past to get to a utopia in the future.
So this is an alternate show.
So they're definitely bad guys, but they have like good intentions, but the way that they're going about it is wrong.
Like robots.
Like robots. I mean, you never know, but yeah, it could be something like that, where they like we have to learn from our past mistakes to make a better future, and in theirs they just had a great past that they forgot to protect themselves in the future.
Well, you know what they say about digging up the past? You get dirty.
I can see Ben Franklin as a Dr. Robotnik type. That'd be really interesting.
Sorry, I wrote that line.
I mean, he's definitely got the belly for it.
4th grade, so.
4th grade.
But I try to use it every time I can.
It's a good one.
Yeah, I don't know. You guys lost me. Even though you explained it, I'm still like, because I think it's because I'm thinking that this show takes place like what our world is right now.
Yeah.
But it's not, because
no, it is. It's just that's the theory behind it. So like it takes place now. Like imagine like there's like, you know, like somebody who pulled up this cold case and like started looking into it. And then in doing so, we start doing the flashbacks of what actually happened. Like we don't explain any of the dimension stuff or any of that until like later on in the show. So just the pilot episode is them trying to figure out this unsolved thing of these bones. So, maybe at the end of the episode, we find like the cliffhanger is kind of, Benjamin Franklin, like coming down the stairs into his basement, and like the portal opens up and another one walks through and he's like this is crazy. Like who, you look just like me and stuff. And of course this is way back in the day. So they're not thinking like how we think.
Witchcraft.
Exactly. So they're thinking like that. And then they end up getting in a fight. And then the guy has to kill him, the one that came through the portal. So then he has to bury the bones. And then that's kind of how we like end it. And then, maybe like from there we build upon it. But then, later on we explore the dimensions and the reason why and all that.
Yeah, the difference between the dimensions. And then he has to interact with the other founding fathers as though he's Ben Franklin from our
exactly.
Oh.
Which is
and I wonder if there would be like some like language, barriers too. Like, I mean, you obviously have to think like history. They did not speak like us. So somebody coming from like a utopia, obviously they're not going to have the same kind of language. So he could be like kind of slipping up here and there. And then like he has to kind of feel like the language out, so that could kind of be like one of those things where people are like, are you feeling all right? Like,
what if he talks like us? People. Because he came from a utopia, so he talks like modern and everybody else talks old school. So
are we in a utopia? Is that why we talk the way we talk?
Well, I'm just saying like he's saying like they had a specific way of talking because they were still like, from Europe and all that. So like, what if the whole reason that we started talking the way we do now is because he came over and kind of introduced that new dialect?
Right. Like yeet. And
yeet. He's got yellow tattooed on
fleek. That'd be hilarious. Like that's his finishing line after he kills the other Benjamin Franklin.
Yeet. Just tosses someone into like
with the shovel.
Yes.
Well, Ben Franklin's a really interesting guy too, because he was he used to like take baths in his front yard naked in the cold air, and he really liked old women. He liked to have affairs with older women when he was a younger guy. Like he went to France and he was really like he had a good time. He partied it up. Of course, he discovered electricity, and he was an amateur doctor, which is the real reason why he had all these corpses, was because he was stealing corpses.
That was William Houston. William Houston was his friend, and he was he dissected.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I told you I was going to bring logic into this.
Maybe he used that as a cover up though, because you could almost set up this show like he's a serial killer. So we don't explain any of that stuff. Like you show him come through the portal. That's the last we talk about it until like the finale. And then the rest of the time it's just, following him, like living up this life, kind of like Lucifer, like the show or something, he's just this like really charismatic dude and like likes partying and visiting other countries. And while he's doing this, he's killing people, but he's strategically doing it for a reason, that we can fill in the blanks later. But that's a really good idea.
Yeah, because he was super like strange even to the other founding fathers. They all thought he was really weird.
Yeah,
maybe he was what we're saying,
multidimensional.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
all right.
Rick,
think about
Rick and Morty shows up.
What if okay, just because I'm from Colorado, Nikola Tesla is from Colorado, obviously. And he's very, very weird also. So like, what if we incorporated Nikola Tesla into this? Like Tesla, at the time that he was doing all his experiments, actually found a way to like portal jump or dimension jump, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah, he was exploring it for sure.
right. And he deals with electricity. And maybe this is the reason why Franklin actually even got into the whole thing of trying to make electricity. And
Right.
so, what if we use that kind of like as a Tesla as his like segue, basically like between dimensions? Like Tesla started this, he jumped a portal to this other dimension, found people that are from his history, but these people like, he notices like, hey, like you guys are about to ruin what you have. Like you're at the point of ruining everything that you've created. And in my dimension, we haven't yet got to that point, but we could use your knowledge to prevent this from happening. So that would be like a really good bridge gap.
So that's when he grabs the better Benjamin Franklin and brings him over. Okay.
Correct.
Because he's friends with that one.
Right.
So that's
And
like the
they're-
key of why he ended up.
Right. They're more into the future. So he was able to call him because they have phones in that dimension.
It's possible, yeah.
And he goes, "Hey, do you want me to help? Wait, do you want to help me save some lives?" And Ben's like, "Yeah." And they go over there and they're like, "All right, but now we got to kill this dude." And Ben's like,
Well, didn't Tesla die under like mysterious circumstances,
Yeah,
like in
he
real life?
disappeared off a train.
Yeah. So check that out. So we can use that because let's say instead of them being friends and him calling him up, let's say Tesla explores this and ends up like, because we could have this whole thing in the show, have him hop on the train because he's trying to get his technology away from people that are trying to steal it. And in doing so, he's like, the only way I'm getting out of this right now is to open a portal and jump dimensions. So he has to do it. And he jumps over to this dimension. And one of the first people that he finds is Benjamin Franklin. So we could almost do a whole episode. Let's say this thing is 10 episodes long. So maybe like episode like 7 or 8, like further along, just completely side story and just jump into like Tesla doing all his experiments and all this stuff. The government trying to come after him getting on this train, opening up the portal, ending up in the other place. So that's when we start finding out what's going on. So the rest of it is all serial killer story until we get to this point. And this is where we blow everybody's mind. I don't want to get too further into this because we can do it in the other episode. But
what would be crazy too is if Edison was the bad guy, right? So then
Edison,
you have the most brilliant scientists in American history, working against each other and with
they did
each
a
other.
Doctor Who show about that recently.
Really?
Yeah.
And we can really, I would say, because there's like going back and forth between, well, I mean, they don't do a lot of back and forth, but because there's 2 dimensions, we can bring up the whole Mandela effect and just like sprinkle that in throughout the show of like maybe jumping between the 2 dimensions. Like in this dimension, this thing exists because it could even, we could even like to show off how that dimension is different than this one, how it's like utopia and all that. There's a bunch of stuff that are just different.
Yeah,
like maybe like every time that they actually jump dimensions, maybe that affects the entire world at that given point. So
I don't think there would be multiple times. I think it would just be the one time. Like Tesla just had to get away, so he opened the portal and jumped over, found this utopia, and then Benjamin Franklin, being a bad guy and a serial killer at this point, used that to come to ours. That's why Tesla disappeared. No one ever found him again. So like he got left in that dimension, and then Benjamin Franklin took his portal and then ended up over here, and it got destroyed or something. So it was a one-time thing, and that's it.
Well, it's time and dimensional then. This is like 100 years difference too. Interesting.
Well, yeah, that
got lost again.
That sounds like some Rick and Morty, Doctor Who kind of stuff.
Yeah, Rick and Morty's they're not allowed to like touch the whole time stuff, but I mean they kind of lightly do in their own little way.
Potato down.
Poor potato, our computer's going crazy.
That's the worst.
But yeah, I mean, we can touch more on that when we get to the rest of the series, but it would be kind of cool just to have a really one-off episode that kind of doesn't explain it all, but it like enlightens people to like what's actually going on.
Uh-oh. It just stopped recording and re-recorded.
I don't like that.
It still says we're live.
Yeah.
So
I think it's fine. It's not happy. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be interesting. Like, you know, if you've got like Benjamin Franklin and he a phone starts ringing in his house, which, you know, like Tesla's reaching him, but he planted the phone there. He wouldn't even know what a phone was. Like the technology jump would be crazy to him.
Yeah.
That would be really, really interesting. And
Which
the
is
audience
exactly
would be
why
like,
he'd
what
want
is
to.
going on here?
Yeah, that's
Right.
exactly why he'd be interested in using that technology, though, especially if he had other motives.
Absolutely.
So I guess we can explore more of like the serial killer side of it. Like let's say we're at the pilot episode and it starts with like nowadays, like, you know, like a young intern in like the FBI or something that they just like they don't like because the way that they do things and stuff. They just like just give them this old cold case for these bones that they found. Like we already know it's because, you know, the medical experiments and things like that, but just give it to them, like let them, you know, sit on that for a couple months while we
Let that
work
dog
on
chase
actual
that.
cases.
Let that dog chase a bone for a while.
Ah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
you-
and then since this person does think out like outside of the box, like they, you know, start discovering that there's a lot more to the story than just, you know, bones of people that he was experimenting on.
Yeah, it's like written on the bones and the symbols or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe Ben is slowly just like, okay, so maybe this is one of the things I'm getting lost on is the Ben that's killing the people. That's from the Utopia
Yes.
one. So even
Yeah,
though it's a Utopia, he's going around killing people.
Exactly, because he thinks that they did things wrong in his, and he's trying to fix it.
Right. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, but we're not explaining that yet. Like,
Yeah. No, I got it. And so he's coming over and he's doing these symbols because maybe in the Utopia world there's meaning behind it, and we'll get to those meanings in the next one. And so he's doing these symbols, and so this person that they put on to check this out, they're like, what do these symbols mean? And people are like, they're not symbols, they're just cuts where the scalpel was dissecting it. Like,
well, what
get
if
over
they're
it,
what if they're paradox symbols? So like even the existence of the bones being there can cause a time paradox. So he has to like inscribe on the bones so they can exist in the same timeline.
Interesting. I like that. Who should he kill in the first episode? Because he's got to kill somebody dope, like George Washington or Alexander Hamilton.
Yeah, like the other founding fathers. Like I think he has to like clear space for other people from his dimension to come over.
Right, that's what you're saying. Who should die?
well, obviously, as you said, Benjamin Franklin would have to be the first one to go.
Yeah.
So now the second person, like the second big person, who would you have to
well, that's not true because like he said, like you got to hook the audience right away. So what if we started off with like Benjamin Franklin and he's like in this big, you know, capitalist meeting or something with, you know, the other founding fathers and stuff. And then like later on after the meeting, like he's like waiting in his like horse and carriage and stuff. And then he like watches one of them walk around a corner or something and then goes out there and just, you know, myrtleizes him. And then that's kind of like wait, this is Benjamin Franklin. Like, what are we watching right now? And then we flash forward to present time. The guy or girl, I don't know. I guess we can talk about that in a minute, but they get assigned the case and all that. And then we follow that for like 10 minutes, you know, and then we go back to before he killed this guy, you know, in the past, and we follow like all the accomplishments and the things he was doing. But he wasn't on the track to become president. He wasn't on the track to invent electricity and all these different things. He was just a normal dude that just happened to have some views in the government, you know, and like this is kind of like when this happens, it's what puts him in the position to be like, okay, I'm going to do this and this and this, and I'm going to work my way up the ladder. Like he had no ambition to do that, the original Benjamin Franklin.
I think it'd be awesome if he kills John Adams and we throw in a joke for 1776 fans where he kills him and says, "Sit down, John," which is the opening number from 1776.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you totally could. Like, there's no reason that we shouldn't play with
It
stuff
didn't
like
take
that.
place in 1776.
Hmm.
Didn't take place in 1776.
Well, the thing is if he's clearing space for other founding fathers from his dimension to come over, then he could have killed him at any given time,
fine.
and then nobody would have even noticed because he just got replaced.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't want to do 17, what year are you?
No, it
feeling?
doesn't matter. Sorry, I was just writing notes and I was just picking on you.
Gotcha.
Because I have some ideas, but I want to save them for the next episode. Yes. Okay. Sorry.
All right.
Yeah, so okay, let's just recap it really quick. So not me, since I was getting lost. Someone else recap it really quick.
I mean, are we kind of like going like a little bit national treasure on this thing? I mean, like I'm assuming at some point our declaration is going to be something that's going to have to be a big player in a lot of this. Like obviously the Declaration changed our like world into like a structured society. So
yeah. Well, what if that wasn't even an idea or a thought that anybody was having until he came over and started influencing our dimension?
So we hit like 1774 would be the beginning, or sometime like that. And he influences the Boston Massacre. He makes that happen. He makes the Tea Party happen.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'd be really interesting. He makes Sam Adams invent his beer.
Samuel Jackson.
He's like, no, like we're gonna call it Sam Adams. He's like, no, Sam Jackson sounds way better. There's just a ring to that.
And I think it'd be funny if we put in little gags like, he's like, "Hey Betsy, I like the flag, but shouldn't it have 14 stripes?"
Yeah. Well, I think that's what would be really cool about it. Like, have you guys seen Lucifer or like know about it?
No,
So, yeah,
I know about it.
He has like a really charismatic like thing about him where it comes off like really cocky and it ends up being really humorous. And I think something like that would make this show really cool because obviously there's a lot of depth to it and darkness. And I mean, it's borderline a horror show at that point, but to have that like humor and that cockiness where you're like, almost like, I don't know if I like this guy or if I want to get rid of him, like a Dexter kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
you're not sure, like, am I really a fan of Ben Franklin? Like,
Yeah.
That's kind of who he was. He was really funny and strange. He was a very bizarre guy.
who would play
but-
Ben Franklin?
We'd have to get somebody really good looking too.
Bryan Cranston.
Well, if it was like 1774, I think it would be like pre-old man. So like get somebody who's like
So not George Costanza.
no, get somebody in like their like early 40s that still like looks pretty good,
Yeah.
Zac Efron.
Zac Efron.
I'd say like Christian Bale. Christian Bale could do it.
Yeah, that type. Yeah.
Christian Bale. Yeah. I like that.
I mean, like he's got that like badassness to him, and honestly, like I would want to see Christian Bale just like fucking up shit.
Actually, Ryan Gosling.
Ryan
yeah.
Gosling. No, honestly though,
Yeah, but do you
Ryan
think Gosling's
Gosling.
gonna want
There
to put
you
on
go.
weight? You
Huh?
think Gosling's
Well, this is pre-old man Benjamin Franklin, so he could still be pretty young and
Well,
fit.
yeah,
Like,
but you got to see him like hitting the donuts pretty soon, bro. Like,
yeah, but we
I
could get to that
can-
later on.
I think that that's a great idea. Just because, once again, people are watching the show and they're like, I shouldn't be liking this guy. It's Ben Franklin.
Yeah,
But like something about him.
exactly. Or we get an unknown person that has that charismatic thing because
That too, yeah.
we don't have to worry about the age and the weight and all that because our main focus is the present story of the person following this case and trying to figure out all the things. So all the stuff that happens in the past, we can kind of hop around to different things. So I mean, obviously, if the show starts with him murdering John Adams or something like that, you know, and then later on we show how that happened, we're obviously time jumping all over Benjamin Franklin's history, while the main story is just going linear.
Okay.
I think it'd be really interesting if he doesn't kill Ben Franklin. Like, he wounds him and he manages to escape. So there's two Ben Franklin fighting for the future.
That would be kind of interesting.
I think yes, but the Ben Franklin from that real Slim Franklin, he he is now wounded in a way where people can't really tell off like just looking at him that it's Ben Franklin. Like maybe they get into some struggle and his face gets kind of messed up, and then he gets like ripped of his clothes and gets shoved away. Maybe it happens somewhere else that's not near his home, so now he's deserted and people don't believe it's Ben Franklin, or they don't even know him wherever he got dumped. And so now he's just this like street urchin. No, urchins are children, aren't they? So I don't know.
Ryan Gosling is Ben Franklin, street urchin.
That's the tagline.
The show. No. Okay, no, yeah. So let's just do a quick recap once again, because we ended up getting more into it instead. So we'll let's we can like end this episode now. Like, it's done. Let's just throw it away. We'll recap, and then we'll say our little spiel at the end. So go ahead, someone recap it.
I'll do it. So the beginning of the episode would start with a big, meeting with all the capitalists, so, the founding fathers, and, Benjamin Franklin, like, ends the meeting or whatever, and they get in a fight or something, and he goes out and he basically stalks one of them and kills them, which is kind of what the heck is happening, like Benjamin Franklin doing this. And then we forward to the future, to present time, and a young agent gets assigned this cold case just because they want to sign him off and tell him to go, like you said, like chase the bone. And they end up finding out that there's a lot more to the story. So then they start looking into it. And of course we would add more into that, because I think the pilot episode would be a lot of that. So it would be a lot of him or her. I don't know. I guess we can decide that. Like, they start digging, and then of course there's people that don't want him to dig. Maybe it's the parts of the government or private securities, that were coming after Tesla that we can get to later on. But this is like the descendant of that group. Or like you said, Kurt, the Illuminati, and they start coming after him, and they kind of put him on where he's on the run, trying to figure out this stuff. And in doing so, it's almost like the Da Vinci Code, like he's continually unraveling things as he goes. And then we start flashing back to Benjamin Franklin, and that he's starting to work his way into politics and, work his way up the ladder, and he tells, his friends, like, I'm gonna run for president. And they're like, you're crazy. Like, you're just a normal guy. Like, you never had ambitions like this before. Like, what's changed? And, he's just like, just my priorities are a lot different now. And I've opened my eyes to see what the world needs to be and stuff like that. And then of course we come back to modern times, and, the caseworker ends up finding something very specific that shows that this version of Ben Franklin isn't the one that we know today. And then we flash back to Benjamin Franklin, like in his house, and he hears like all these noises in the basement. So he like grabs his candle and he like goes downstairs and stuff. And there's this huge like portal. Yeah, exactly. There's this huge portal. And then another Benjamin Franklin comes through, and he's like, well, that's weird, and he starts talking like us, like modern talk. And then the other one's like, who art thou in my basement, or whatever. And then they get in a huge, I think they get in a huge fight, and he like knocks him out with the shovel, like he eats him with the shovel. And then he's just standing over his body. And yeah, maybe we leave it open. Like, we don't know if he killed him or not, or what's up. And then we like end the episode right there. Like, that's the cliffhanger. So recap.
That sounds great. Yeah. Okay. So if you would like to hear more, head on over to Storytime Pitches and enjoy that. We're going to head on out. And yeah, I don't know. Have fun. Everyone say bye.
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 Happy 100th.
Stop
All right.
recording. Okay, so I'm gonna give it a second. Last time, when I started recording another one, it ended
It's
up
gonna-
just deleting the previous one. So let me make sure this gets on the computer.
I think you have to leave the meeting. I think everybody has to leave the meeting
Really?
first.
Okay. Okay, so we'll do
Alright.
that,
Okay.
which is great because we have to stop the live stream. Bye, YouTube.